southern part of South Dakota, it is going to be one rough early season storm.
All right, and then we've got a severe side of things to talk about. Dallas and Nashville right now look a little different, right? Dallas, bright. You can see the sunshine off the buildings, the blue sky overhead. Nashville, cloudy, gloomy, and looking chilly. Well, both areas have the possibility of strong or even severe thunderstorms as we head into the end of the week and weekend. All of this expected to clear up on Sunday. So we've got drier times ahead. It's just going to take a little while to get there. Tomorrow, it's places like Dallas that have that threat of strong or severe thunderstorms. And not just Dallas, but also Shreveport, southeastern parts of Oklahoma, getting into a good chunk of the state of Arkansas, including the Little Rock area. Torcon values up to a 4 for Little Rock and for Shreveport. So that's a 40% chance of a tornado within 50 miles of these locations. In New Orleans, a 3 out of 10 would be a 30% chance of a tornado within 50 miles. So we're talking about still low-end chances of tornadoes, but not negligible by any means. 30 to 40% chance is one worth watching. And I know it's the time of year where you're thinking holidays, you're baking cookies, you're wrapping presents, and to think about severe, not necessarily top of mind. Make sure you have a way to get those warnings, especially come a Friday afternoon and evening. Tomorrow, we've got plenty of available energy for storm development. There's our developing storm system, our cold front back over parts of Texas. We've got warm, moist air in play out of the Gulf of Mexico, and showers and thunderstorms will be out there across the region, scattered as we go towards 2 o'clock. You can see some stronger thunderstorms moving through parts of Arkansas and Louisiana as we get towards the mid and late afternoon, but also all the way into the late evening hours. Now we've got midnight working into northeastern parts of the state of Arkansas. Some heavy rain, some strong thunderstorms. You can see another round of those storms as the front moves through. And by Saturday, we're watching places like Memphis early in the morning for the possibility of storms and heavy rainfall. Now Saturday, Memphis not as much in the severe threat thanks to the timing, but we will be watching a place like Nashville, Indianapolis, but then especially down near the Gulf Coast where you see that deeper shade of red. That's where there's a better opportunity for the severe stuff, that hail, damaging winds, isolated tornadoes on Saturday.
And stuff we haven't talked about in a long time, so let's get ready for that now. Alex, thank you. And still to come this hour on Weather Underground. You've heard of Tornado Alley, right? But what about Blizzard Alley? We'll show you where it is and the odds we'll have a blizzard there later this week. And as hurricane season officially comes to an end, we take a look back at the lessons we've learned with our hurricane expert, Dr. Rick Knabb.
I want to take you live to Park City, Utah right now. Woo, there is a little whiplash, but you can see ski lift ready. The next winter storm bringing snow here through the weekend. 3 to 5 inches likely over the next 24 hours. Temperature 33 degrees. We're thinking snow, even though there are drops on the lens. It's good news to come for the resort. You can see some of that snow actually falling. There's a good look at it. All right, Park City, get ready. Skiers, you're going to love this storm. This storm is adding the powder to those resorts that want to welcome you to enjoy the trails that they've already got open. We talked to somebody from Colorado yesterday saying how many trails they've got open and how good the season's been so far. And we're talking about feet of snow up in the Sierra Nevadas and rain to come still through Saturday, up to an inch around places like Los Angeles. So, you know, we talk about not all good news. The snow, obviously great, but the rain in these areas that especially have dealt with recent fires are going to be susceptible to those mudslides and debris flow. So we watch for that, including that flash flood warning that we have up near the site of the Camp Fire, and that includes Butte County as well as the city of Paradise under that flash flood warning right now. Water vapor imagery, there is our low pressure system, and this is basically a pocket of cold air higher up aloft, looking kind of like a bowling ball as it makes its way in off the coast of California. This is moving coast to coast, so we're going to be watching for the snow not just in California but other parts of the country as we head into the end of the week and start of the weekend. So our upper low swinging east tomorrow. Now it's located over the Intermountain West parts of the plains, and that dip in the jet stream drawing up moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. So now we've got moisture surging northward into that cold air. You know what that results in? Snow. We've got cold air drawing southward from Canada, and that snow and mix will be present in the colder air. So closer to that low pressure system, we've got that wintry mix, but farther to the north, all snow, and we could be dealing with gusty winds as well as this system deepens and develops, and those winds are going to make it feel even colder. Blizzard conditions not off the table with this, and through the weekend we'll continue to watch this system pull north and east. So tomorrow, snow across parts of Colorado, rain and snow through western Nebraska. Now Friday night, we've got the wintry mix down into parts of northern Kansas, eastern Nebraska. On the backside of that system where the colder air is, snow through western Nebraska around Rapid City, and then Saturday, Mike, we've got snow across parts of especially South Dakota and Nebraska. They look to be the big winners when it comes to snowfall with wintry mix into Iowa and Minnesota. That'll change over.
Might be also where we have some of the highest winds, and there's the possibility, a real possibility, there could be a blizzard in the middle of the country. All right, let's walk you through this, a location by location, and help you plan your day around it, okay, or days around it. For Friday evening through Saturday evening, Rapid City, you're looking for 5 to 8 inches of snow. There are the winds that could go about 20 miles an hour, temperatures falling through the 30s, okay? So we think that a lot of the snow that falls ends up sticking. Initially, probably not, but as the temperatures drop, everything begins to stick for you here. All right, that's Sioux Falls, and we think in South Dakota, a really legit shot here of getting some snow for us, okay? And the possibility that some places could see blizzard conditions as well. Down between Sioux Falls and Sioux City, a solid half a foot of snow is coming our way. Could be some locations, say, west of Sioux City, where we get about a foot of snow in the forecast. They are highlighted in some of the dark purple locations. The farther north you go, including a good chunk of North Dakota, we're not going to get all that much snow. Minneapolis, 3.1 inches of snow for the month of November so far. 8.4 inches is November's average snowfall, and we've got rain snow coming in on Saturday. Still a bit of a tough call for us in a place like the Twin Cities, Alex, so we're going to watch to see how this one plays out, but the Twin Cities is not out of the woods just yet.
Yeah, and we talk about those blizzard conditions possible for some areas. And some areas in the high plains, this would be the second time in a week. Now, not exact locations, but when we talk about the region as a whole, not really usual, even though this area is known as Blizzard Alley, for the month of November. This is early.
And you brought that up earlier today. 2 blizzards in a month of November?
It seems like a lot. It seems aggressive.
Yeah, that is not common at all. And, it's interesting, though, because it is in the part of the country that typically gets blizzard, something we refer to, Alex, as Blizzard Alley.
Yeah.
Not too different climatologically from what we would call Tornado Alley. The same idea here, a place where we get the most blizzards during any one season. And if you take a look here, it's right in this area here. And the two areas that get it, the two states that get it the worst are typically North and South Dakota. And it's a combination of that really cold air that comes down with Arctic highs out of Canada, right down along the plains where there's really nothing to impede that strong wind, and lows that track through that, either an Alberta Clipper or a Colorado low. Now in November, it's pretty rare here to get this. In fact, if you take a look, even in Blizzard Alley, we typically get one once every 5 years. But where we had that blizzard set up the other day, some of these areas had never seen a November blizzard. Let's take a look here at the conditions or the types of systems that produce the blizzards. I mentioned Colorado lows. That's what we're going to have again today. Over half of the blizzards that happen in Blizzard Alley come out of that. Alberta Clippers are the second type. These are the two main weather systems that will produce these blizzards. And of course, Alex, 35-mile-an-hour winds, visibility quarter mile or less. And the biggie here is that it has to go for a 3-hour period of time or more. Snowfall amount, temperature, and geographic location are not factors that go into defining a blizzard.
Yeah, so if you want to stump your family later tonight, ask them, does snow? Does it depend in a blizzard if it's snowing at the time?
There you go. You got it from here.
Yeah, that's right. Tom, thank you so much. Mike, we got a lot more on the show tonight. We're packed tonight.
We do indeed, so stick around. A dangerous situation unfolding in California. Heavy rain coming down on the burn scars there, prompting mudslides, debris flows, and evacuations. We'll have the latest for you. And a surprise hidden by fog. The U.S. city under these thick clouds. This might surprise you.
Take a look at the fog. What city? Well, I guess we told you really quick. Salt Lake City, but you wouldn't know it at the start of this video.
That's really cool how
and
it just settles down like that. That is so neat. And then it comes right back in.
This was captured at the University of Utah. A great way to see what happens during the inversion season across the state of Utah.
One more time.
Re-rack it.
Just like, and then the city appears. That's really cool.
That's beautiful.
Really neat.
Beautiful stuff. Salt Lake City, it never looked better. Welcome back into Weather Underground on this Thursday. I'm Alex Wilson.
And hi, everyone. Thanks for being with us. I'm Mike Bettis. We are tracking another major winter storm developing and growing tornado chances, by the way, headed toward the end of the week and the weekend, too. And take a look, by the way, at some of the flooding ongoing in parts of Southern California. This from Los Angeles not too long ago. Water covering some streets here around the city. Drivers taking it slow through some of the standing water. But the other real issue here is flooded homes. People are sandbagging their homes. And opportunities here, Alex, that we could have debris flows, mud flows, and people that are in their cars in floods could be in real trouble if they don't pay attention.
Yeah, water rescues ongoing today across the state of California. Look how quickly this water is moving.
Oh, my goodness.
That is why, these rescuers train so hard. That was like catching a needle in a haystack. You got that person moving in the water. They dropped him. He's able to grab him, get him up.
Imagine being that person. How?
Pressure's on, man.
My goodness. Or the person being rescued even.
Yeah.
God,
pressure's really
terrifying.
on. And even those operating that helicopter, you got to keep the timing has to be right. So do yourself a favor, stay away from those flooded roadways, stay away from those low spots. If there's a lot of heavy rain, those areas that usually flood around your community. Don't be driving through those as we go through the next few hours. Rain continues and thunderstorms are possible. Some of those could be strong or severe. We've got cold air aloft and so hail likelihood from some of these storms that are moving through California. Seeing some lightning strikes well to the east of San Francisco as you get closer to the high elevations. We've seen a few west of Los Angeles as well. Even a few thunderstorms into the state of Nevada. Flash flood warning up near the Paradise area because of that burn scar from the campfire and rain. That rain, burn scar combination, not what you want to see. Unfortunately, that leads to a higher likelihood of mudslides and debris flow. Santa Barbara, you've got some thunderstorms. You're hearing the rumbles of thunder along with some moderate rain. Obviously, this is not going to do good things to the afternoon traffic as these continue to move east. Right around Los Angeles at 4:23. On a good day, traffic's awful. So now we add rain into the mix, and that's going to be a problem for your late day commute. There is that flash flood warning, or there are the flash flood warnings around Butte County, home of the campfire. Now we've got that charred landscape. Now we have rain falling on it, and that allows for a possibility that we could be looking at debris flow and mudslides. Durham, Magalia, and Paradise under that flash flood warning until 9:15 local time. Mike?
All right, well, let's take you up into the mountains and show you what's happening currently where it is a ton of snow. And we take you up here, by the way, at the Donner Lake. They call this the Donner Pass here along I-80. And you can see they've got checkpoints set up here. And Tom, what they're doing here, they're checking to make sure the big rigs have chains.
That's right. They're at a level 1 in this area here where you have wet roads, and that's for the big rigs. A little higher up in the Emigrant Pass, some of those areas, they're at level 2 now. So everything except four-wheel and all-wheel drive vehicles with snow tires are going to need chains. And those other vehicles need to carry those kind of resources within their vehicle, Mike.
Look how much, the road looks pretty good right now. You said temperatures are just a hair above freezing. So
that's right.
There's blacktop, but there's a lot of snow you can see off the road. And eventually, as temperatures cool, you think the roads become snow-packed.
Yeah, the higher elevations are going to see the snow tonight. And then as we go into this second event, into the weekend here, snow levels drop, and we're going to get into some pretty rough action and right in that area.
There was an Amazon semi. Listen, people got to get their Amazon Prime, Tom.
Well,
so
they may have to be patient on this one.
They may. All right, we've got, in all seriousness here, we got a legit amount of snow that's coming our way.
We do, and how many ways do you slice and dice the system? Take a look at the satellite imagery here. This is just a massive storm system. This is where the water really picks up in California, but boy, you hate to see it come in a dose like this. A lot of rain for the area, and at higher elevations, we are going to, and are already seeing the snowfall. A lot of lightning going on here. You can see along the spine of the Sierra here, the temperatures are now dropping, getting down to 32 at Tahoe, and the snow is coming down as well. And that's actually taken the visibilities at times down below a mile here in these areas. I like to show this. This is kind of like a three-dimensional. 56 degrees down at sea level in Sacramento, but by the time you get up into the mountains, 5,000 feet or so, that temperature drops off. And that's why you're getting so much snow in this area. Mike, that snow's going to continue here through the rest of the night. They get a break on Friday, and then more snow will come in Friday night into Saturday. That's what takes the snow levels down there. And boy, before this is all over, easily another foot of snow up across this area. The I-80 corridor may come into play with some rough travel.
Here we go. 2 rounds still to go. Tom, thank you very much. Alex?
All right, we've got a lot more to come on the show tonight. When disaster strikes, we oftentimes turn to our four-legged friends for comfort and support. We're going to dig into why animals can sometimes be the best shoulder to cry on in this week's Storm Track segment. And Dr. Nab is counting down his top 10 lessons learned from this year's hurricane season. What it's taught us that could change the future of how we handle hurricanes.
Thanks for staying with us tonight right here on Weather Underground. We've got a pretty serious rainmaker underway right now on the West Coast. And Chico, California Police Department has sent out a code red alert for flash flood warning in that area. So an extreme danger for us here in and around the town of Chico. That is just... that's very, very close, by the way, to the Campfire burn scar area. Chico was a place where a lot of evacuees had headed toward. That's going to be right up here, and I'll circle right in the middle of where some of that convective thunderstorms are happening for us right now with the lightning, but a very, very ripe atmosphere right now for some very heavy rain falling for us here in northern and central and southern California. And then up into elevation, we end up getting a lot of snow, but huge amounts of rain are falling for us right now, and unfortunately happening right on top of the burn scar area, which is right there. So it's not good. Not a good location. You can see some really heavy rain butting up against the western slopes here, and then some really heavy rain. It's going to be south of Lake Tahoe here, but we'll take you right into the slopes here. And Paradise is the one town that really was hard hit, but you can see a pretty relentless stream of rain right now. Durham, Magalia, Paradise, all under flash flood warnings right now. And again, in Chico, and it's going to be in particular the mountainous areas here just west of Chico, where we're going to run into the biggest problems. At Butte County, we've got ongoing issues right now. In Durham, by the way, reported on Highway 99 Neal Road that we've got sheet flow off Campfire burn scar here flooding Highway 99. So now it's impacting roadways as well. You need to be particularly careful if you're driving. And we know that normally a few inches of rain does not cause a lot of problems, but we're concerned about the flooding because of those burn scars left behind by the major fires this year, like the Campfire. The fire burned over 150,000 acres, became the deadliest and the most destructive wildfire in state history. And for the first time now, we're getting a look at body cam video, by the way, of the deputies in Butte County as they helped evacuate the Campfire back in November 8th. All right? And you've got to check this out. He's attempting here to come up on both sides of deputy's car and then forced to get out and walk. My goodness. Was attempting to locate 4 nurses from a hospital. Okay, the deputy says he was afraid these were going to be the last moments of his life. I mean, just absolutely terrifying. Flames everywhere you look. Just awful. Having to use a flashlight to see through the smoke. Just incredible stuff here. It's like a Hollywood movie. Alex, after going through such a horrific event, everyone obviously could use a little bit of comforting when you see a situation like that.
Terrifying. Well, in tonight's Storm Tracks, a glimmer of hope in California after that deadliest and most destructive wildfire in state history. This woman and her husband had just minutes to escape the raging campfire when their cat Mason slipped out of his carrier. He got startled by an explosion. Well, they thought he was gone for good, but turns out firefighters rescued him and dozens of other cats.
Allow people to pet them and sometimes lay down on them. And in fact, sometimes I refer to them as comfort rugs with a heartbeat.
I like that. You know, you send these dogs to natural disasters, scenes like what we're seeing now in California and after hurricanes. What is most needed? Is it those hugs that people need at that moment?
Well, I think people in any type of crisis or disaster need to talk about what they have come through. And dogs are safe to do that and be able to talk to. In fact, I've seen so many times that people will, particularly if they've been traumatized, they will talk to a dog before they'll talk to a person. So the dogs provide that type of comfort for them to allow them to share what they've gone through. And then sometimes they just need to hug something that is warm and furry and shows them love.
Absolutely. What is it about the golden retrievers? That's the breed you guys use. What makes them so good for comforting?
Well, golden retrievers by nature are lovers. They just love people. And so that's why we use them, and that's why they're so good in what it is that we're doing with them. And they're good indoors and outdoors, and they're a smart dog. So we just stay with golden retrievers because just about everybody likes a golden retriever.
Right, and your guest there, she's got got a great smile, so everybody can appreciate that.
This is Xena.
Xena, absolutely beautiful, and you can see why everybody would love to meet her. I would love to give her a hug right now, so you'll have to give her a belly rug for me. Tim
Did you hear
Hetzner.
that, Xena? You're getting a hug.
Love it. Tim, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
We have one of our youngest dogs in training.
Welcome back to Weather Underground. This is what the 2018 Atlantic hurricane season looked like. You're sitting right on top of a weather satellite. It's all sped up here. This is the entire season. The whole thing unfolds here, okay? Isn't it amazing what the atmosphere can look like? I mean, it's really, really something else. And you can see all the spins out there, all the different commotions. There goes Debbie. I mean, just neat stuff here. Let's bring in our hurricane expert, Dr. Rick Knabb. The hurricane season officially ends tomorrow. Doesn't mean we couldn't see storms outside of that, but as far as the season goes, what did you see out there that really blew you away?
Well, different parts of the Atlantic Gulf Caribbean basin were very busy and others were not. And that reminds us that it's so much about where the storms go, not as much about how many there are. But in terms of the numbers, we had 15 storms, we had 8 hurricanes and 2 majors. And what is notable when you look at the color coding here, because the hurricanes are colored in red on this map, and the major hurricanes are colored in purple. So we had the 2 major hurricanes, Michael and Florence. But what you notice is a lack of red lines, a lack of hurricanes, except for the beginning of Michael, a lack of hurricanes in the Caribbean. So that was beneficial for the folks there who got hit so hard by the likes of Maria and Irma last year. And we only had, 3, if you count the beginning of Florence, 4 hurricanes in the main development region of the tropical Atlantic, and no major hurricanes in the deep tropics. They were all farther north. That was Florence and Michael. And also, we had a lot of meandering systems. In fact, out of the 15 named storms this year, 7 of them were subtropical storms at some point during their life cycle, including that tiny Hurricane Beryl that later became a subtropical storm later. But Leslie and Florence were the long-lived ones. And of course, we're all going to remember Florence and Michael, and there's a lot to learn from those 2 storms, guys.
Is any reason why we didn't get any serious development there in the main development region?
Well, part of that was what we had been talking about with regard to the seasonal forecast, which was cooler than average water temperatures in the deep tropical Atlantic. But as we talked about, that didn't mean there weren't going to be any major hurricanes. Didn't mean it wasn't going to be a bad year. And we talked, Alex, at the beginning of the year, there's a big, big difference between how busy and how bad. And, the seasonal forecasters, they weren't too far off on the numbers. They forecast something close to an average year. And the numbers this year weren't that far from average. But again,
you get a Michael and a Florence, and everybody thinks, surely this year must have been gangbusters. Surely it must have been above average just because we had those 2 particularly bad storms.
And because of those 2 storms, and because of what the seasonal forecasts were saying at the beginning of the year, as we go 10-1 here on the show tonight, one of the lessons that I've learned from this hurricane season, number 10, I list seasonal forecast messaging is still often misleading. And at the beginning of the year, they focused on the numbers, and they focused a lot on the cooler than average waters in the Atlantic. But we talked about at the beginning of the season how that doesn't necessarily mean all good news.
Right.
The main development region, in past years where it was quiet, where it was cooler than average, we still had a lot of activity. 1984 looked like this year, and look how busy it was with U.S. landfalls. 1985, we had multiple hurricanes hitting the U.S. And look at all these years. You know what they have in common, Alex? Except for 89?
It looks like they have impactful systems.
They do, but they don't form in the deep tropical Atlantic, but they form close to home. That cool Atlantic might not be the good news we're looking for. Now, how much do those track maps that we showed at the beginning of this hurricane season from past years with cool waters in the deep tropical Atlantic look like this year?
Like what we had.
We talked about something out of the deep tropics and something forming close to home, Michael and Florence. We found out this year that Hawaii is still vulnerable from a direct hit, even though they got off the hook from a direct impact from Lane, right?
Yeah.
We also learned this year And look at what it did. Despite not being a direct hit, there was still tremendous flooding in Hawaii. So can you imagine if this had made a direct hit on Oahu, it would have been much worse for them. So they've still got to stay vigilant for the next hurricane season. And look at that track, how close it got to the Hawaiian Islands as a Cat 5 just south of the Big Island, and then it fell apart due to wind shear.
Yeah, you talked about trees being a huge danger from these systems, from wind and rain. That's the next bullet point on your list.
Yeah, trees are an underrated hazard, and we saw a lot in North Carolina, in Wilmington.
Yeah, in Wilmington, there was a woman and a baby killed by a tree falling into their home.
Yeah, and when I went around driving in Panama City, so much of what we saw damage-wise was due to trees. And then also, we learned early in the season you don't even need a tropical depression to have a flooding disaster. Remember deep South Texas? Those systems that weren't even depressions, and we had terrible flooding.
Right.
So rain without a name again happened this year.
All right, we're going to talk about a few more of our lessons learned next hour. Also, our next likely named winter storm coming our way. Tom Niz will break it down. Coming up right now on Weather Underground, a monster cross-country storm.
It is cranking on the West Coast right now, bringing feet of snow to the mountains and heavy rain to the coast and valleys. But the timing could not be any worse. Why we are so concerned for dangerous flooding.
Then it heads into the middle of the country where a huge winter blast will leave a big footprint of snow from Denver to Detroit and all points in between.
And the warm side of the system will have all the ingredients to fuel severe storms. See where large hail, damaging winds, and even tornadoes will threaten.
And hurricane expert Dr. Rick Knabb continues his 2018 hurricane season lessons learned after devastating back-to-back blows from hurricanes. What will we remember moving forward? Well, it's all next on Weather Underground.
And thanks for joining us tonight on the show. I'm Mike Bettis.
And I'm Alex Wilson. We're tracking what is set to literally be a cross-country storm going to affect just about every state in the lower 48. You don't need to get on a plane tonight. Hang out with us. We're taking you coast to coast.
You'll have front row seats, that's for sure. Here's what we're looking at. Portions of at least 41 states could see rain. Some could see as much as 5 inches of it. Then there's the snowy side. Flakes already coming down in the Sierra Mountains, eventually tracking into the northern plains where a significant snowstorm is going to set up there. Gusty winds going to accompany the system too. Where there's snow, there's wind. And you're not going to rule out the possibility of blizzard conditions either. And coastal winds for you there on the Great Lakes as well. And to make matters worse, there's severe threats starting tomorrow with a Torcana 4 in place. We're worried about hail in the southern plains, down through the mid-south and the southeast, as well as tornadoes.
Yeah, the worst fears are coming true across Southern California. Heavy rain causing mud and debris flows in Riverside near that Holy Fire burn scar. How dark the water is, showing you the ash and the mud that this water is picking up, as well as the debris. And the rain moving in over San Diego as well. We're going to end this week and continue the weekend on the wet side across California. You know, the area of San Diego, you've got a high surf advisory, a wind advisory, and a flood advisory. So triple advisories. Whole state dealing with the flash flood threat as well as the mudslide threat, but particularly Dr. Knabb will show us around those areas where we have seen the fires. And this is our next winter storm. Right now, not looking bad around San Diego, but things getting more active and obviously not the blue sky that you maybe think of when you think San Diego showing up on this tower cam. Severe thunderstorms possible today. We've got a cold pocket of air aloft, that upper level low, and that is oftentimes conducive to thunderstorms that can produce hail. So we're going to be watching for that. We do have lightning strikes showing up as we head into the mountainous parts of California, as well as a few strikes areas to the north and west of Los Angeles. So you're hearing the thunder in some of these communities. Parts of Nevada, you've seen a few thunderstorms as well. So we've got moderate to heavy rain falling across parts of western and central California. Get up into the high elevations, it's snow. So it's not all bad news. We've got some very welcome snow coming to those ski resorts. Santa Barbara, there are those thunderstorms that have been moving off towards the south and east, and they're going to be headed towards the Los Angeles area. So the problem is we get you to around 4 o'clock local time, 4:30 local time, and that's when the rain's moving through the Los Angeles metro, and that's when a lot of you are on the roads. And you know in LA, on a good day, traffic is crazy. This is only going to make matters even slower for your late day drive. Up towards the Chico area, that's where we've got a flash flood warning because of our Camp Fire burn scar. This includes Paradise, that threat for mudslides, debris flow because of the heavy rain that is still falling over some of the area right now. You can see some of those oranges and reds showing up on the radar. And we've got new video showing us how crews clean up mudslides and debris flows. This is Butte County, the county so hard hit by that worst wildfire in California state history, the Camp Fire. At this point, almost 90 people confirmed dead in that one, 88 the latest count. We saw the scenes. We even showed you during this show how scary it is. But, you know, Dr. Knapp, these mudslides, debris flows can be just as terrifying and just as deadly, unfortunately.
Yeah, and we're now getting reports in the Paradise area of roads being closed, blocked by water and debris, even stranded motorists. And this is a problem, a risk in both Northern and Southern California. And if you look at where the fires have been, so where the burn scars are and where the flash flood watches have been issued, they line up perfectly. And that is the Weather Service recognizing the enhanced risk of flash floods and debris flows in those burn scar areas. Even if you didn't have all these fires, you'd have a flash flood risk with this kind of potent system, with all this instability in the atmosphere. I mean, this is a deep, cold core low, but it's got a surface low too. So that onshore flow of all that moisture, I would even characterize some of this as tropical levels of moisture for California standards.